In the last section, we started styling our images, and let's continue with that. If you recall an earlier discussion, I mentioned that some of these images are in fact animated pictures like GIFs or even videos. We're just showing the static screenshot capture of these images that Imgur just happens to provide us. It would be great if a user could mouse over an image and immediately see the video it represents start to play. Let's add that behavior now inside of imagepreview.jsx. So let's sum up exactly what we want to do with some very precise terms. When a user's mouse cursor enters a image preview component, we should start playing the video the image represents immediately. When the mouse leaves, the video should then stop. So let's concentrate on figuring out whether a user's mouse is inside or outside of a particular image. If you recall setting up click handlers using onClick, well, we can actually do something very similar to that using the event handler onMouse enter and onMouse leave. So let's give that a shot now. On our root div component, we'll add onMouse enter, and whenever this event occurs, we'll run the function this.handle mouse enter and on mouse leave, which is going to use the function this.handle mouse leave. And we will continue to render the image for right now. So let's define what's going to happen when these event handlers trigger. When the cursor is inside of the image, let's make a new flag on state called hovering. And if the user's mouse is inside of an image, we'll set hovering to true. So before we get there, let's default our initial state. And we'll say by default, a user is not hovering over any image. Okay. So next, we need to do something when we are hovering, but only if an image is animated. So we need to basically, we need to consider the case that we're showing an image that's really just an image. If it's just an image, then we don't want to have to consider anything about hovering or anything, or playing any video or anything like that. So for this, let's consult the Imgur API documentation and see if there's any properties of an individual image that can help us out with this. So I'm going to flip over to the API docs, and we'll look at the documentation for a gallery image right here. So on a gallery image, we get stuff like ID, title, description, blah, blah, and then we see one that's very interesting and very useful for us, animated. It's a Boolean, and it will be true if the image is animated. So here's our plan. If the image is animated, and this.state.hover is true, we'll show a video tag. Otherwise, we'll always show just a plain image tag. So let's try implementing that plan. Inside of our render function right here, we're going to add on a ternary expression, and we'll say this.props.animated and this.state.hovering. Remember how ternaries work. We place some initial Boolean expression, and then a question mark, and then a colon. If the initial Boolean statement is true, we'll execute the code between the question mark and the colon. Otherwise, if it's false, we'll execute the second expression after the colon. So if this image is animated and we're currently hovering over the image, we'll say that we should show a video. Otherwise, just continue to show an image. Okay, so let's stub out video for right now. And then one thing that we kind of neglected to finish was implementing handle mouse enter and handle mouse leave. So let's do that really quick. So we'll just leave video stubbed out for right now, and we'll do handle mouse enter and handle mouse leave. If we're entering, then we'll say this dot state dot hover, this dot set state hovering is true. If we're leaving, then set state hovering to false. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. I think all we need to do now is implement this video tag. So for this video tag, we're going to be making use of a native HTML5 tag called video. So this is not a React component. It's not JSX. It's just another HTML element in the same way that an image tag is. And if you've never used it before, it's pretty darn straightforward and easy to use. We're just going to declare a video, and then we'll pass it a couple of properties. We'll say preload auto, autoplay, loop. So basically, we're going to let the browser decide whether to preload it or not. We are always going to autoplay. Remember, the video is only going to be visible when the user is hovering over it, so this will be just fine user experience to autoplay it, because they have to take some actual action to play the video. And then by default, we're going to just let the video loop, since a lot of the videos on Imgur tend to be pretty short, kind of quick. And then we'll add just one more WebKit specific item in here, WebKit-plays inline. Okay, so now inside of the video tag, we're going to add a source. And the source basically says, go to this URL to get the source for this video. So we'll say source is, and here's the very interesting part, we know exactly what the source of this image is, or this video is. It's just the source of our image. So say this.props.mp4. So we have all of our images properties available on this.props. One of those particular properties is a address to the MP4 format of this image or this video. And we can double check that over in our documentation here. So I'm still looking at a gallery image, and you'll see we have an MP4, and then this says it's a direct link to the MP4, only available if the image is animated, and type is image GIF. So fortunately, we are checking to see whether or not the image is animated. So we've declared the source of the video, and we'll just tell it that the type of video is video/MP4, and then we'll just close the tag with a source, like so. Okay, so I think that we're in a good spot to give this a shot. Let's go ahead and save this and flip over. And now we should be able to just mouse over, and sure enough, and that's just awful, awful image. And okay, these are just some ridiculous. All right, here's a nice sweet video. Let's just stick with this one. So you'll notice a couple things pretty quickly here. First off, when we mouse over an image, sometimes the video will actually jump, and now we kind of lost out on the mouse over event, or excuse me, the mouse leave event. So we actually have to mouse back in and then mouse back out for the image to start playing. So first off, it seems like we really need to make sure that we cap the video size to just 200 by 200 pixels. Secondly, you'll notice that images that are really just images continue to behave the way that they are, because they're not animated at all. So that's terrific. So let's go ahead and fix the issue with video rendering, or with the size of the video. And we're going to do that with just some plain old CSS. I'm going to open up my file browser on the side, and we're going to open back up imagepreview.scss. It's kind of annoying me in the background. Oh, all right. This is just craziness. Let's just fix it. So we'll add a tag on here, and it will just be video. And we're going to say this thing should only ever be 200 pics by 200 pics. We'll vertical align to middle. Oh, I'm missing some semicolons here. And we'll set a background color of black. All right, so let's save this. And all right, so this is looking pretty good here. The image or the video itself renders in the middle of the container that it's in. So you'll notice that the top and the bottom have equal spacing, and the background that's displaying there is black as opposed to the default white that it would otherwise be. So this is looking pretty darn good here. So a user can go ahead and mouse over and they instantly see a preview of the video. So this is pretty nice. Still a couple things to be done here. One thing that I want to mention is that if you are, I am on a 13-inch MacBook Pro. If you feel as though the width of these images is too small and should be larger, you can always bump up the raw pixel value on here or change them to a percentage value as well. So it's totally up to you. One thing that'd be really nice to include here is an icon that tells us which videos actually, or which of these pictures actually are videos and which are images. So it'd be nice if we could get that. Maybe we'll address that in a section very shortly. I'll catch you then.